Hey everyone, welcome back to Coming and Going. We're trying something out a little new here, and that is I'm going to give you a quick overview of what to expect in today's podcast as you look to hop in. We are blessed to have Kirk Martin from Celebrate Calm rejoining us for another great conversation. This time our focus is on preparing our kids for back to school. And as you listen here, let me let you know that Kirk and I kind of shoot the breeze there for about the first 8 to 9 minutes. So if you want to scrub through that, you can. Although it is kind of delightful to listen to. But beyond that, you got great content to enjoy as we talk about what it looks like to normalize the feelings your kids might have around being nervous as the new school year approaches, what it looks like to familiarize them with the new patterns that they're going to be engaging with as a way of comforting and leading them and preparing them for what's to lie ahead, as well as what it looks like to implement and prioritize what you desire to see produced in the life of your family and the life of your kid this fall as the school year gets going, and the perspective you want to have maintained throughout. What it looks like perhaps to raise a curious child who loves to learn as opposed to just one who's out there trying to get straight A's and anything in between. So I hope that you are encouraged and edified as we take a look at God's word and take a look at being a good steward of our kids as we prepare for back to school. I cannot say how excited I am enough to once again have a good friend. Let's just say, I'm just going to claim it. Good friend, Kirk Martin. Kirk is such an encouragement. I had the privilege of coming across Kirk's podcast about 2 years ago, and it was one of those things that the moment I heard it, I was like, this is exactly what I have needed for my parenting journey. Kirk hosts this podcast and really this whole resource company called the Calm Parenting Podcast, and the founder of Celebrate Calm. We had Kirk on in our most recent episode that dropped in July, and so definitely make sure that you check out that. But Kirk, again, I can't thank you enough for just the encouragement you are to my wife and I, to several others. You are indeed the number one parenting podcast that we recommend to other parents, mainly because I'm not narcissistic enough to recommend my own, but
I recommend yours, Joe. I would recommend my own. You know what's awkward? So we have a little bit of, we have a good following on Instagram and it's video. Yeah. So on some of our hikes or in the grocery store, they'll be like, hey, do you have a podcast? And I'm always like, no, I'm not that guy. It's a little bit embarrassing. Like I pity people who are famous, right? Yeah. Like where you get pulled over, but yeah,
everyone recognizes you. It is such a, like, my wife is giving me a hard time. This is now the third podcast that I've hosted in some shape or form or whatever. Right. And I'm like, it's just the millennial dream to host podcast. But
hey, it's Gen X dream too, my friend.
Yeah. We wouldn't be here without Gen X. That's where so much of our great technology has come from and innovation. But no, Kurt, it really is. It's such a joy to chat with you. The episode that we recorded that just released in July, I know has been such an encouragement to those who have listened to it as well. And Kirk, it's funny on your podcast, on the Calm Parenting Podcast, I love how you invite parents to have their kids, listen to one of the episodes, or obviously go through the Celebrate Calm resources together. So I had to tell you this though, because you always encourage parents to do it. And I had never done it with my daughter, never done it with my older daughter, Virginia. But I went in the car, I turned the car on, and then she got in the car, and I had to go inside to grab something. My phone was connected to Bluetooth, and I was listening to one of your podcasts, and I'm inside the house for 2-3 minutes or whatever, and I come right back out, and I hear your voice, and I'm like, oh, I started apologizing to her. So, no offense, but I was like, sorry, babe, that I was just listening to this parent. She's like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's a parenting podcast. I'm like, it's all right. What do you want to listen to? I'll turn on, Forrest Frank or whatever she wants to listen to. And she's like, no, I want to listen to this. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, Kirk, what you say is true. The kids want to listen to it. We listened to the last, 10 minutes of an episode, and I asked her, I was like, what did you like about it? She's like, I like how he talked about how you should handle something when your kids are doing something wrong. And I'm like, oh, how do you think daddy handles it? Does he do a good job? Somebody's saying, yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes I think you're too hard. I'm like, okay. But it, like, for a 7-year-old to hear the content and to be like, it resonated. Like, there was something that resonated. So we've listened to another episode since, and it is kind of cool because really so much of it you talk about is this kind of give and take, this collaboration. You as a parent have one way of wanting to approach something, and so many times that can be through the narrow lens of you being a 30, 35, 40-year-old adult, and even like you're still parenting Casey to some degree.
Oh, for sure.
So you see it through these lenses, and yet you have to remember they're a 7-year-old, a 17-year-old. Like, they don't have the life experience that you do, so that bringing them in on the conversation, I could hear some of the awesome things that you're sharing on your podcast and just be like, yeah, I know exactly how I'm going to apply that. But it's so much better if I'm like, I think I know how I would apply that. Now let me see what would actually serve her better and actually invite her in, because we have the same aim. Like, I want us to have the same aim of having a healthy relationship. And I think oftentimes, and this is where I've really loved your approach to it, that doesn't mean that I am forsaking my authority as a parent. Right. In many ways, I actually think I'm showing the humility of Jesus by saying, let me turn my ear to you. Let me hear from you, my child, because I want to care well for you. So all that to say, I finally tested your hypothesis of let your kids listen to the podcast, and it holds true.
Well, Joe, it's kind of like your coming and going theme, right? Yeah. It's in the course of everyday life of like, okay, honey, that situation last week when you were struggling with X, how did that go? What could we do better? And you're leading with humility of what could I do better? And then it can be, okay, what can you do, honey, next time that would be better? I love, it's not about listening to the podcast, it's about that conversation, whereas in
there it is.
My older generation or my dad, it was the parents were over here and the kids were over here, and it was kind of us against them.
Yeah.
And we've swung too far in our society now where it's like, well, let's just do whatever the kids want.
But, you have a balance. So, you have a temper.
You're getting that balance of, no, I want to, and kids love some ownership, and they like knowing is this like parenting thing, like a secret? And it's like, no, it's just about building relationships.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
and what you have too is it actually makes it, there is a tension and burden that's released at times when you do invite them in, because now I am giving her ownership. So like, if there is a consequence for an action, it's because I don't have to think of, right, what's the fitting consequence? What's actually going to stick? I told her she's not going to have this thing anymore. And now she's like, I don't care. I don't want that thing anymore. But now I've actually asked her, all right, what do you think what do you think the consequence should be if you don't follow through on that? Like, what should be the other end of that action? And for her to be able to name and say, oh, this is what I think it is. It does help. It provides collaboration. It provides insight, and it does release a little bit of that burden and lets us build relationship and not just feel like, oh, I'm the authority and you're just this child. So I think it's such a good way, and it's such a good setup for our conversation today, because we're focusing on preparing our kids for getting back to school. And we know that even if you've done this, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years in a row with your kids, that each school year brings a different dynamic, because for many of your kids, it brings a different classroom. Even if your kids are homeschool, it brings different classes. It potentially brings in different classmates. So there's all these other, things going on that you have to prepare for. And obviously, if you're going through different stages, different transitions, elementary to middle school to high school. So every year it comes for us. Every year we get to August and we're like, oh man, school year is coming. There's always this like surprise where it's like, no, it's gonna come either way. But Kirk, as we hop into the school year, setting our kids up for success, setting parents up for success, what are some of the challenges that you often hear, or that you've seen that parents will begin to encounter even now as they prepare for getting their kids back to school, and as their kids get back to school?
I think the number one thing, especially Joe, the kids we work with tend to be a little bit more on the neurodivergent side.
Hmm.
Strong-willed kids don't always love school. So anxiety over, like you said, all the new things. Anxiety is caused by unknowns. So I'd say
Yeah.
the number one thing I do as a parent for those kids, and if you don't mind, I'll go through three things. But number one,
Please do.
normalize it, right? Of course you're anxious. You should
Yeah.
be anxious. You are going to a new school, have a new teacher, new expectations, new classmates. Look, when I give a new presentation at the office or meet new clients, I'm always a little nervous. That's normal. And what that does is it's not an excuse. It just lets them know there's nothing wrong with you. Like, this is very normal. You
Yeah.
you should be nervous,
Yep.
because they're going to be like, because kids go to, well, I'm nervous, so now I don't want to go. And I can
Mm.
say, oh no, you should be nervous. The first few days of school, you know what's going to happen? You may not want to eat in the morning because your stomach will be upset.
Yep.
Normal.
Yep.
It's going to be awkward because you're walking into new places, you don't know anybody yet. And so then you'll settle in. And so you're kind of, it's that coming and going thing. I'm
Yeah.
explaining how life works to you. New
Yep.
things, always a little scary. First few days at a new job are always odd. Are
Yep.
my coworkers going to like me? For you and your position, is the lead pastor going to be nice to me? Is the congregation
Yeah.
going to accept our
Yeah.
family? Do they like my cool hair? Whatever it is, Joe, that you
Yeah.
we love Joe's hair. And so you're normalizing that, and
Yeah.
that helps them know there's nothing wrong and I
That's
can
good.
handle this.
That's good.
So I like that. Number two, familiarity is really important. So if your child's starting a new school, before school begins, even go to that new school, walk around outside,
Yes.
ask the principal, hey, could we come in and walk through the halls so my daughter, my son can see where the cafeteria is, where their new classes are? Can they see where their lockers are?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the kids we work with, they have these very busy brains and they get anxious. And so they freeze up and all the new stuff. And just think, for a lot of our kids, the sensory overload of first
Oh
day,
yeah. Yeah.
bells, kids are loud, it's hard. So you go in, personal connection.
That's
Try
good.
to introduce your child to one person that works in the school office. So when they walk in kind of timid the first few days, oh, there's a lady or a guy in the front office that they've already met that is smiling, not the crabby person, but the nice person that works
Yeah.
at the
Yeah. Yeah.
school. Say, right, it's the same at church, right? For kids who have anxiety about Sunday school. It's like, if they can walk in and know Miss Henderson is there every morning to greet me, whew, it just
Yeah.
helps. And then
That's good.
the one big one that really helps is see if you can get a teacher to give your child a specific job to do when they come
Mm.
in. So, oh man, Joe, I'm so glad you're here today. Look, could you help me? Because you're really strong. Could you move those heavy books for me?
That's good.
Because now when I wake up in the morning, I'm anxious about all the unknowns. Are the kids going to be nice to me? What about the bus? Are you going to get me there on time? I didn't study for the test, but I know my teacher's waiting, is going to give me a specific job. I'm going to do it well. And now we just created a success to begin the day.
That's good.
That will help immensely with many of your kids.
That's so helpful, Kurt. I love those three categories there: the normalizing their feelings, the helping gain familiarity with the new environments they're going to be in, and that last one there, I'd say ownership. What are things that we can help give them ownership or responsibility towards that might make them move them from an anxious feeling to maybe an excited or an eager feeling, and knowing that they have a role, a job. It's just helpful sometimes to know, like, people don't like showing up to something like, I don't know what I'm doing.
You see it like kids at youth group, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
could you get here 5 minutes early? Help me set up the room. Well, now
Yeah.
they're there early. They're connecting with the youth pastor, and then the other kids come in and they're busy doing something. It
Yep.
just helps ease that transition.
Very much so. And so I want to come back to these three things, and maybe some of these things might help a little bit as we look at this next question of, what are some of the things maybe parents can even begin to do now, moving from the summer rhythm to getting back to school. Obviously a lot of parents are probably thinking about what their day-to-day schedule is going to look like for them themselves, for their kid. Sleep is going to be a big thing or whatever, but anything that parents can begin doing now is, for some, as they're listening to this, school could be a week away, it could be 3 weeks away, but either way, it's coming. So what's some maybe helpful tips or tools for preparing them as best as we can before first day?
So everybody knows, okay, start to get back into that rhythm, getting sleep, getting to bed a little bit earlier. But you mentioned ownership, and I love the idea of saying, hey, last school year was a little chaotic, right? And you can say like, hey, maybe you overscheduled, we were too busy, we had a lot of meltdowns. What do you guys want this next school year to look like? And draw them into the conversation, because like your 7-year-old is very insightful. Like Virginia might say, it just felt like I was always rushed. And you'd be like, oh, I hadn't seen it like that. And so you can even physically, I like visuals, so I like having a whiteboard to say, here's what your daily schedule is like. And there's some familiarity in there as well, especially with kids as they get older and they're switching classes. Where we get home I pick you up at 3:00. You have this Taekwondo class every Tuesday and Thursday. I'd start to kind of lay it out visually and say, what do you want the year to look like? When should we plan downtime? And I would encourage parents, if you don't actively take control of your schedule, society will take control of it for you.
Oh goodness, yes. Yeah.
Right? Like you're young, but those of us, and none of the listeners are as old as I am, but like there were just no schedules. Like we didn't do a lot of organized activities. So you just kind of came home and went outside and played. Yeah. Well, it's different now, and there are so many activities. So I would encourage parents actually purposefully slow down your schedule.
Yes.
And if you have a strong-willed child, plan for the meltdown, the sibling fights, the fights over homework. If you have your schedule so tight that's like, boom, we've got to like nail it, and like traffic has to be just right to get out of our subdivision, right? Like it's a real thing.
No, but you're right. Yep.
Well, so now if I'm rushed, I'm more anxious and I'll snap at my kids more. So I really like the family now starting to sit down and say, what do you want to do differently this school year? When do you prefer to do? You're not, like you said, you're not giving them control of your home, right? But it's like, hey, when do you do homework best? Do you want to do it right when you get home? Or should we go outside and play first? Because if your kids have some ownership, one, they're thinking and they're making decisions, and two, now they decided, right? And so it can't be like, well, you make us do this. And it's like, no, you guys came up with this schedule. So besides all the normal ones of start kind of dialing back, going to bed a little bit earlier, weekends a little bit later, try to front load as much as possible. So don't wait for like back to school sale, like clothes the night before, right? Like, we forgot nothing fits because you wore shorts all summer and flip-flops. But I'd focus on this part of let's talk through the schedule together and kind of create this as a family. I'm talking too much on that, but I really think that you're teaching kids how to prioritize.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think that it's such an important rhythm because I see two prevailing things with it. One, what you just mentioned, that is a skill set that you're imparting into the life of your kid that transcends this season of the school year, right? You want your kid to be able to begin ultimately growing in wisdom and discernment and discretion and what's actually important and navigating the tension. I really want to do that extracurricular activity, but if I say yes to this, I might be inviting in a stressor here, or I might have to say no to this. So like those are such valuable things that it's kind of, even when you're talking about, hey, normalizing the nervous feeling that you have, we as parents can't be dismissive of the fact that our kid might feel anxious about going back to school when we ourselves would feel anxious about going into a new social setting or having to go to this family function or starting a new job. So it does allow you to grow in that empathy as you're looking to create, instill that skill set within them of making wise, discerning decisions. That it's one thing to teach your kids to say no to bad things. It's a whole other mountain to climb to teach your kids how to say no to good things and how to operate wisdom and discernment through that. So I think that's one of the prevailing things. I also love the rhythm of planning, because you don't have, that's not concrete. That's Lego blocks, right? You could say, hey, we're going to build this. And then once we get into that rhythm and it's September, or October, maybe we look at it again. All right, we didn't know what we didn't know when we got into the school year, and we thought that this was going to be the best schedule, but we got an understanding of this course load, and we really do want to chase this extracurricular activity. All right, what do we need to adjust? What's worked well? What do we need to go with from here? So I think that is such a valuable thing to be able to do. And like you said, kind of stutter stepping it, not trying to save it all for once, but saying, okay, let's go up to the school. Let's do this. We've even, one of the ways that we do that for going up to the school is that the night before she starts school, we've made it a rhythm of our family. We go up there and we pray. We just Perfect. We're in the car if it's raining, or we just go outside and we pray. We pray for the school year. We pray for the school. We pray for Virginia, but also just building in that rhythm and feeling like, oh, this is our place. We don't just have to go here, from 9 until 3 or whatever. We can go here on a Saturday afternoon at 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. and just pray, because this is another space in which we live our lives as a family in community with others. And we know that we're dealing oftentimes with our kids' anxieties. We're also dealing with like our anxiety, right. Like that feeling of rushness. Because I think for some parents, it can be like the lament that summer is ending, but also the celebration that summer is ending and your kids are getting back to a school year rhythm. But you hinted at that with, planning out our days in such a way where it's like, man, if traffic's got to be just right. We have to hit every green light. We can't see any cops on our way, and we're just going to get right there on time. That's a reflection of our own anxiety, our own rushed feelings. So all that to say, what are some things that parents need to also begin doing maybe for themselves personally, or be thinking about as they might have their own anxieties and uncertainties? Because as much as we like to act like we have it together, we also don't know how the school year is going to go. Right. We don't know how this new teacher is going to be, or these classmates or whatever. So what are some things that parents need to be mindful of or put into practice to address some of their own anxieties or uncertainties?
Good, because parental anxiety to me is like our number one enemy as parents, because it's just our kids pick up on that. So we already mentioned prioritizing, and I think within that is perspective of what do I really want out of this school year, right? And everybody's different. So our son wasn't as academic, right? He wasn't like a purely academic kid. So our goal was, we want to raise a curious child who loves to learn.
That's good.
And that's a little different than, well, we want our son to get all A's and B's, right? So for us, we would put that on the refrigerator, and everything came back to, is this promoting curiosity and a love of learning? And everybody's going to be different on this. And I push a little bit more, because I'm okay with saying no to homework at times, because sometimes homework is busy work, and it's not a knock on the teachers. It just is. And I think, Joe, to your point, that goes back to teaching kids life skills. We have limited time here, and these are our goals. And so we say no to some things that aren't important. As you said, I think brilliantly, we're saying no to some good things too.
Yeah.
because we value this more. And I would write down as a family, so you can come back to it. During the school year, I want to laugh a lot. I want to connect
Oh,
with
that's good.
kids. I
That's
want
good.
to play, because we get into, right, we all have good intentions. And then by the end of September, we're in full on, like, come on, you got to do homework. You got to get to bed, good meal. We got to fit this in. And then we lose sight of the fact that we're actually a family,
Yeah.
and that school, I believe school takes on too much um, importance in many ways.
Yeah. I think
Like,
so too.
you just pointed it out. The very fact of, like, we're going to plan and prioritize and make decisions, that's what you and I are every day. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Joe, you and I every day aren't like memorizing information for a test.
No. No.
But,
And
but
normally when someone forgets something, we're like, hey, man, it's all right. It happens.
yeah, I wrote that down, right? But that very act of what you are doing for your child during that time is saying, no, there are some things that are arbitrary. There are outside pressures. And no, we don't have to do that, because as a family, we value, number one, connection time together. We're
Yeah.
always growing in our relationships. We're maturing. We're becoming more like Christ.
Yeah.
And sometimes that comes in opposition to, well, getting that worksheet done.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the worksheet doesn't need to be done.
Yeah. It's okay.
And I would talk to the teacher respectfully. And what I used to do is go in and say, I really appreciate the fact that you love our son so much, that you want him to learn and you give homework to him. I want you to know there are some nights we will not do homework, but we will always be learning, because
Yes.
some nights Casey may be building something and we just build it and we learn from it, or he's taking things apart and he's learning so much. Some nights as a family, when we're stressed, we may just go outside and play and eat chicken nuggets off the grass, right? Like, just throw stuff out, and we're going to play as a family. Homework won't always get done, and it's not disrespect toward you. It's prioritizing our family life. And what I found is most teachers were like, yeah, that's smart, do that.
Yeah.
Some teachers would say, well, we're going to have to mark Casey's grade down. And so we would say, that's okay, because we don't really value grades. We value a curious child who loves to learn.
Amen. Yeah.
And so
that, I think that's so good as well, because there's so much that comes to mind. I think that we live in a society that is so easy, because performance and approval is where we get our value from. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to feel as though, like, because I got an A+ on this, then I must be doing something good. But it puts it so much in a result-oriented way. And the reality is, that's just not how life is. Like, you can be successful in certain things, and because you've produced certain results, but you hear it. That Tom Brady had the infamous interview after he had won his 3rd Super Bowl, and he's like, there's got to be something more than just this. Like, you can meet your greatest of all times. There is still this longing in the soul that cannot be satisfied by simply fulfilling performance and producing a result. And I get where some feel like, oh, but if I'm so lackadaisical, my kid is just going to be absolutely right. No one wants that for their kid. But at the other end, it's like, you also want your kid to feel like you must perform. But they might not ever actually be able, they might not even have the skills, the wiring to perform in this actual way. So it's very much a spirit of the law versus letter of the law. And again, you're trying to discern where that should be applicable, where it shouldn't be, and ultimately what matters most. What is that perspective? What am I ultimately producing in the life of my kid? I want him to be a curious child who loves to learn, because that turns into a curious adult who loves to learn. And oftentimes, if you're curious, you're not judgmental. You're empathetic. You're believing the best. You're relationship oriented. You have the opportunity to share and show the love of Jesus because you're not so focused on like, well, this person doesn't fit this thing, so therefore I don't want anything to do. So I think that that's such a valuable thing. But I think there are some who hear it, they're like,
Oh,
am I
it'll
just raising a
stretch you.
degenerate though if I don't make sure they always get their homework done? It's like, no, you're not, because that's not what you desire to produce in the life of your child anyways, right? Because the other end, which is, again, makes parenting the most difficult job in the world, you could do everything right. Heavy air quotes for those who are listening. You could do everything right. And that doesn't mean your kid's going to turn out the ideal way, again, air quotes on ideal way that you think they should turn out, right? So it's like, what do you want to be true for you as a family, for them in their life, and what do you want to model to them that's going to carry beyond the diploma they receive on a community college stage, because that's often where our graduation ceremonies happen. Like, Here you go. You got this piece of paper. You finished high school. But what exists beyond this literal letter of the law, the piece of paper?
Right.
So, yeah.
Joe, I think that's so insightful because it's the dance that you're in spiritually and in everything it's kind of like, it's not a great example, but the love your neighbor, the guy, the
Good Samaritan?
The Good Samaritan, thank you. The guy,
Yeah.
I was thinking the guy who fell in the ditch. It's like, well, I've got to get to my church. I've got to get to my synagogue, and I'm going to pass that guy by because I've got this list of things to do. And it's like, oh, it's such an inconvenience to stop and help that person. Yeah. But there's the priority and you're teaching like, yeah, we're not going to get this done, but our neighbor needs some help with something. So we're going to do that instead. And I'll tell you too, as a father of Casey's 32. We just did this 3-week hiking trip together. He took me on this. Awesome. And so I'm finding like, okay, at that age, almost all the things that we worried about when he was in school, none of those things play out right now, right? It's the decision-making process he makes. It is how he interacts with his wife. It is how he treats the people who work for him. It is all those other things that we sometimes shove aside, but there's no point in his life now where it's like, well, yeah, I'm crushing it because in 8th grade, I did this really good paper on essay on
I wrote a phenomenal essay on Tom Sawyer, and guess what? I'm the president now. It's like, okay.
I can tell you as an older parent, those things that we get so worried about don't matter. And I often ask him, I'm like, what do you remember? And he said, I just watched you and mom, how you lived life. And so I'm going to do a podcast on this, on what I found myself saying to him, as we were doing this hike. And it comes out to the bigger picture things like, you can never be too generous. It's like,
that's good.
It comes into those. And so I watched, like, he paid for a lot of things on the trip, and I watched as he tipped people, and he would say, Dad, that extra $5 meant more to that person than it would to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. I don't care that you didn't do that well in Algebra 2.
Yes, but, that's good.
Yeah. Right. And so you see what kind of human they become. And school, the pressure of the school year can really suffocate a lot of families. And so, so I'll wrap up this part on us. Really work on yourself inside to know, oh, here's a big trap, Joe. If you were super academic, and I do this a lot when I work with like doctors and attorneys and engineers, it's like, well, school was really important to me and achieving was really important to me. And then when I dig down, it's like, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad. And the only way that I could get that acceptance was overachieving. Yeah. Then watch, because you will put that on your kids. And especially if it's a kind of non-academic type kid who actually is a really bright kid. Like they're probably the smartest kid in your family.
It doesn't express itself this way. Like,
just watch projecting out your own issues on your kids with school. and letting them know, like the conversation I had with Casey is, look, you're just going to struggle in school. School is made for kids who can sit still all day and memorize information for a test and who really value that. And you just don't. You're going to
Yeah.
struggle. But when you get
Yep.
into the real world and you know how to make decisions on your feet and you're compassionate and empathetic and you know how to connect with them,
Generous and
dude,
yeah.
you're going to crush it. And that
Yep.
really helped him. And again, to your point, you're going to be like, well, is he going to be a slacker? And it's like, no, he's just not going to figure out. It's raise up a child in the way. We
Yeah.
always raise as Christians, raise up a child in the way we think he should go.
Yeah.
And it's no, know your child and know, okay, this one's very academic. Awesome. Honors classes, let them take on too much. This one, no, put them out serving people, running their own business when they're in ninth grade.
Yeah.
And know the prodigal son and know the bitter, resentful good child. I'm kidding, but that's kind of what it is. If you're
Well,
on
I think
scripture, that's
it's like
kind of what it is.
yeah, yes, well, it is. Yeah, but I think you're right in the fact. Hey, raise your child in the way that they should go. But ultimately, what is the way that we would want them to go? Well, we would want them to be like Christ. So it's like if we're trying, like Christ is not about. It's not about this performance, right? It's there are things that we change within ourselves to be made more like Christ. But we already know that, hey, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That we can't earn our salvation in that way. We don't earn that love. It's just lavished upon us as His children. And so we rightfully respond to that by reciprocating that love back, by sharing and showing that love to others. And so this has been so good, so encouraging in many ways, because I think it's because I do want to just, I understand why it's a tension for folks. It's a lot easier to be result oriented. It's a lot easier to just be like, this is the way it's supposed to be. But I think what we're encouraging and maybe challenging some people with is just see what that's producing. For some kids, they thrive academically. But even if they thrive academically, you still have the aim as a parent to make sure that they know that their approval doesn't come from their performance, that their value is not found in the fact that they got 10 straight A's. Awesome. Affirm that. That's the way that God has wired them, and they excel academically in this way. That's great. But they still need to learn to abide in the fact that they've just been made in the image of God, and they can glorify God through their academics. But if that kid is not academic, just because our Western society decided to set up our school system like this 70 years ago, again, 70 years ago, does not mean that should be the be all and end all. Like, the gospel transcends the American school system. So it's okay if we're saying our kid does not perform the best academically. That doesn't mean that it's not a value. They should learn to read and write and act. Like, it's a blessing to be able to be educated in such a way because of the opportunities it gives you. But all those things are just things back to God. Like, just give it back to God. So if they, like, I love that you invited that in with Casey right off the get-go. You're not going to excel academically in this way. But let me remove you thinking that your value comes from your performance, and it doesn't. We're going to help. We're going to make an effort, but we're also not going to beat our heads against this brick wall until you finally get a C+ in algebra.
Right.
No, we're going to do the most I am horrible at any sort of advanced math. I can add, subtract, divide and multiply with the best of them. That I can do. Me and a calculator, we're great. But that means I'm also not looking like my parents never impressed upon me, nor did I ever feel like I needed to be, I was somehow lesser than. Although, again, sometimes made me feel lesser than because I was in like the heavy air quotes, dumb kid math. It's like, no, but that's, why add an unnecessary stress into my life if I already know I'm not going to, I can't do algebra. I just can't. That's okay.
Yeah,
that doesn't make me lesser than.
Yeah, you and your parents knew you were not going to be like a physics scientist or whatever.
No,
Can I give you one cool thing to do for parents to do? At the beginning of the school year, get a sheet of paper, write down on the left-hand side, here are all the traits and qualities necessary for success in school. And then on the other side, here are the traits necessary for success in life. And they don't always match, some match up, but a lot of them are like, okay, memorizing information for a test, writing an essay on things you don't care about, right? A lot of that is school, but life success is making decisions, trying and failing, risk taking, persistence. So for those non-academic kids, I like to affirm when they, hey, I love that you tried building that new Lego set. I love that you were willing to put yourself out there to help another person. Yeah. So you're affirming the character traits more than just kind of like you got a good grade. Because the truth is, some of the academic kids, they don't even have to work that hard. Like, my wife just comes natural to them. Like, she's just smart. I'm like, you don't even work hard. Like, I have to work hard to be a good person, right? Like, it's just easy for you.
Yeah, it just comes natural to her.
Yeah.
Kirk, this has been so good. This has been so rich. I want to give you the opportunity. If there's anything else that's on your heart, on your mind, as we wrap up our formal conversation here regarding how parents, children can best support each other, or how parents can best lead their kids as they prepare for the school year and as the school year gets underway.
You know, I had one, because one thing that popped in was your kids who are anxious, see if there's a mission they can have of going into school and say, find one other kid who's alone, who maybe looks scared or lost, and then go and befriend that person, because it does two things. One, you're modeling Christ, because that's what, right? Christ wouldn't have hung out with all the cool kids. He probably would have like told them like, chill, you're not that cool. You know, he would have found the one, but it also helps them with their own anxiety to know, like when I fly, I'm not a good flyer. I'm always pick out someone who looks more like rigid and scared than me. And then I tell them like, you know what? I've heard this is going to be a really good flight. And it actually helps my own anxiety to lie to them. I'm kidding. But but
you're finding a common person there to share that experience
finding that,
with.
But I think even giving your kids, not as a rule-based, like you have to do this, but so many of your kids, they have good hearts. And to be aware that there are other kids who are struggling. Their parents may be going through a divorce. They may have struggles, learning disabilities, and to befriend them, like that's being Jesus in a practical way. And I'd rather, like, that would be like, our son Casey isn't the most academic. He's a bright kid. But when he looks out for the underserved and the employees of his who are struggling, I'm like, I'll take that any day. Like,
that's great. Yeah. And that's what people will take with them as well. Yeah. You know, like that is what people will remember is how they were cared for, how they were loved, how they were seen, even when they felt like they were falling short of an expectation. So, Kirk, I can't wait for the next time we chat. This is always such an encouragement.
I'm never doing it again, Joe. I'm jealous of your hair. No, Joe, can I be honest? Like, please, I was taking notes when you were talking at times. That's why I was looking down. You have a lot of wisdom. Like, you're a young guy, but you're able to synthesize a lot and pull out the important parts. And that's a real gift to have. Like, that's a gift you have. And I love that, because you take all of the blabber that I say, and then you would take like the main point. I was like, he just said it better than I did. So on a future podcast, you'll probably hear me stealing some Joe Crab-isms.
Please do. It would be such an honor.
I'm not going to give you credit, though.
No,
I'm not gracious like that.
I've stolen other people's stuff, I'm sure, without even thinking it.
We all do.
Yeah, thank you so much, bro. That honestly means the world to me. We're not going to edit that out, because I think my wife would love to hear it too. But no, I appreciate that. That sincerely means a lot. And Kirk, you mean a lot. Again, I can't tell you how much that you've added value to my wife and I, our parenting journey, and by such, adding value to Virginia and Martha's life as well. And so thank you for your care, your empathy, your willingness to speak gracious truth. I think it's such a gift to be able to speak both truth and grace to folks, and want good things for others. It's every time I listen to one of your episodes, I'm like, it's always encouraging to hear somebody that they want me to be a better parent. Like you, so thank you for that. For the
your
listener,
wife keeps emailing and saying, "Could you please address this for Joe?" I'm going to be getting texts from Virginia soon.
We got another email from Robin in Michigan.
from Virginia now. It's saying like, "I'm listening to your podcast."
Hey, 7-year-old, long-time listener, first-time submission.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate what you do. I do.
Of course. And to the listener, we hope that you guys were encouraged and edified by today's conversation. Again, like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find Kirk on Celebrate Calm, on the Calm Parenting Podcast. They've got great content on Instagram as well. And so make sure you check out that stuff. We'll link everything in the show notes for you. But as always, we're just so grateful for you tuning in, for the opportunity we have to partner together in this parenting journey. And may you remember that we love you, we are here for you, and we are praying for you as you are coming and going.